All right. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, taking time from your busy day to jump in on this call and or taking time from your summer vacation, I guess some of you, right? So I appreciate you being here. So my name's Tim Kubrick. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Director of Labor Relations, and we will jump into introductions here. So everybody, if you can just give your name and where you work, that'd be great.
Paul Houchins, Director of Research and Evaluation, School District of Palm Beach County. Morning, y'all.
Morning.
Anthony Daugherty, PD, HR Manager. Good morning, everyone. Gordon, you're on mute.
Thanks, Anthony. Gordon Longhofer, Pahokee Middle High School Math, CTA Vice President.
Theo Harris, CTA Executive Director.
Justin Katz, CTA President.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brianna Koch, and I am CTA's Professional Development Coordinator, and I also work with the District PD Department.
Good morning, Patty Hatch-Sabers, Lake Park Elementary Kindergarten teacher.
Hi, I'm Jesus Armas, Principal at John L. Leonard High School.
All right. Is that everybody? All right. Well, again, thank you all for joining. So things that we are looking to accomplish today is to review the modifications to the CTES Teacher Handbook, have some discussion on that, and then get some updates regarding the state assessments. And we'll hear from Paul Houchins on that matter. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Anthony Daugherty, who's going to jump right in and share his screen.
You got it. Okay, everyone, as the screen sharing, just kind of historically for those who have done this many times before and those who might be the first time we're doing this. Basically, this is the CTS Handbook from last year that was approved. And what we have in here is a draft version of some modifications for the new year. Items that we would like to add are highlighted in yellow. Items that we want to remove are struck through. And again, none of this is approved. It's all based on this conversation from both parties. And the items really that were addressed this year really was just kind of moving around some items that were already in the book, such as the purpose statement. The purpose statement was put in the definitions originally and just kind of moved it up to the first page to really just make it easier access for people that are looking at this handbook. So the purpose statement you have right here on page 1. It's no new language. It's what was already in the book. Other item is just basically, as I'm going in through this handbook with the updates, if there's areas that you have questions, areas you'd like to discuss, please go on mic and stop me. If you don't have any issues, then we'll just keep proceeding for the sake of time. But if there's areas you want to discuss as we go through this, please go ahead. Okay, other updates we have, of course, the members of JENC. We lost Mr. Otero because now he's moving from middle school to high school. So congratulations to Mr. Otero. We do have Eugenia Smith-Feeman from Emerald Cove. She wasn't able to join us today, but she has agreed to take on the role of middle school principal for JENC. Also, Dr. LaCava has left the school district. Our new chief of HR, Erica Rieger, will be taking on that piece. Tim Kubrick, our new director of labor relations. So congratulations again, Tim. And removal of Darnice since Darnice left the district. And also because there's no current manager of labor relations. But once that title is received, I'm guessing hired, Tim, right? Once that happens, then we can update that.
Correct.
But no other changes to this area. Table of contents is the same. So let me kind of just scroll through, and I'm trying not to make people dizzy, so I apologize. But here was that handbook contents. Again, this is the purpose statement. Just noted that I added it to the first page. No changes here. We just moved it from this one spot put to the top. Now, again, to my legal experts here, Theo, Justin, if it needs to be in this spot as well, based on historical needs, I have no problem removing the strike through. I just wanted to make sure with y'all, it's still in there. It's on the first page, but if we need it legally to be in here, please let me know. Okay, I'm seeing nodding of heads, so we're probably okay. I'll keep going then.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Observation forms. There was a note in here in the bottom that we added recently in the last couple of years. It basically says if the teacher doesn't meet with the observer by the professional growth plan deadline, then the observer reserves the right to choose the appropriate form to use when conducting observations of the teacher. We approved this. We put in this in the prior CTS. The challenge we had is that information wasn't easily making it out to the people that were reading the CTS, both teacher and administrator. So the thought was if we move it to page 21, I know that seems like moving it further into the, we're moving into the section about PGPs, that would help make it stand out more. Again, we reserve the right to keep it in both locations, but definitely the move to at least have it on page 21 as well will help with training purposes. And also when we refer people to the book to go to that spot, they can see the info in one spot.
Okay, now with this one, we haven't had a lot of problems, with this issue, but I don't think having it twice would hurt.
Okay.
Because it is important to make sure that it is that's the right form and that they do, adhere to that. So that one, absolutely. I think we can go ahead and keep it both places.
And I will tell you I don't think we've had the issue with the administrator just choosing whatever form because the teacher didn't. But we are still having an issue with teachers choosing the wrong form. Yeah. Spent a good amount, and I know you guys get a lot of that support as well. Yeah. We're getting a lot of that still this year. So just a reminder when we're doing our PGP trainings, because you guys do an awesome amount of it, just to keep hitting that point home to those who attend. And chances are it's probably not the people who attend your sessions that do it. It's probably the people that don't attend your sessions that do it. So I agree with Theo. Any other notes? It's not redundant if we keep it in here. Okay, I'll fix that later and not have you guys sit through my editing. Thanks, Tim. I see you going over. Okay, this could be a good segue for Paul. Paul updated our models measures for student performance. Paul.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm presuming that a lot of the questions, and we can talk about this in depth as well. I don't know if we want to let Anthony finish going through the entire handbook first and then come back to questions, but generally speaking, we're not expecting much impact of the change in state assessment to how we model, because as long as the prior achievement still is correlated well with the current achievement, our models should continue to work as they do now. Obviously, that's not something we will know with 100% certainty until we get to run it the first time. So, that's the caveat I always throw out there. But basically, kind of our modeling will kind of still chunk in the same way it has in the past. For this coming year, for FY23, we're looking at fall to spring for K-3 reading. So the first administration of the progress monitoring state tool to the third. 4 to 10 for ELA, we're looking at prior year, end of year. So last year's FSA ELA to this year's PM3. And really we're just going between years because we can in this context, we really can't for the K-3 reading. And that takes both measures out of the single teacher's control, which will help with, teacher perception of what each other are doing. And it also going year over year as opposed to within year will align to what the state's doing for schools and everything else. So they're really looking at the end of year measure as the quote unquote accountability measure from the state perspective. Grade 11 ELA, the prior achievement will be the same thing it was historically, the prior year PSAT evidence-based reading and writing score, and then the grade 11 post-test, again, same. So that model will stay the same. It's basically PSAT to SAT. Then for math, same pattern. K to 3 will be fall to spring on the math side. 4 to 8 will be prior year FSA to current year or third progress monitoring assessments. Then the grade 11 math, the biology, the civics, the U.S. history, all of those assessments are staying essentially the same. So the models will stay essentially the same. Same for 5 and 8 science. Reading retakes also stay the same. Actually, the rest of the models basically stay the same. And then, so that's the assessment transition of the modeling. I'm sure y'all have questions on kind of how it'll work, so I'll open it up. Or, Mr. Katz.
Paul, I just got a quick question for my own knowledge. So obviously, like iReady and Success Maker are no longer metrics for the purposes of evaluation, but the district is still definitely using that software, correct? For academic purposes.
Different components of it. It's, I know iReady is definitely still in place for the instructional component. But there probably won't be an end of year assessment piece because again, the tool is still valuable for the instructional piece. And Success Maker, I believe, is similar, but there's been some schools are using Success Maker, some schools are using iReady now. I'm not super clear on which instructional platform is going to be used on that math side.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Odie.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. If I'm a second grade teacher that teaches all responsible for all the subjects, am I getting a combination of the ELA and the math?
Correct. If you're a second grade teacher who's, we'll continue to do combination models the same way. We'll take both models separately and then basically average out the scores.
Okay.
So if I'm a non-departmentalized second grade teacher, I'll have an ELA score and a math score, and then my final student performance rating would be the average of those two.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Anthony, I think that's it.
Okay. And again, if there's any more questions on this, we can ask at the end.
I'll be here the rest of the meeting.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, so that really was the biggest chunk. The other changes that we have in here are dates for the deadlines for the PGP and observations. And in all honesty, I kept them in the same range as they were in the previous years. But again, this was an item of duplication. Before I get to the dates, sorry, I forgot about this part. So the category explanations, we have category 1B, 1A, the 2 employees. This is in the overview as well. So some of the feedback I got from our team and from Marzano liaisons throughout the district was it seemed duplicative, kind of repetitious. Do you see any rationale for just keeping this repetitive? Again, I'm fine with that. I just wanted to share the feedback that we had some that felt like it was just repetitive. Okay. All right, awesome. This was an update for the page count just because of removal and updates. That's it. Nothing mission critical. Okay, now we can actually talk about the concrete items. Dates. There was an item here that we removed. Originally, we said, and this is for many years, that there's no observations during the first few weeks of employment, or whether there were no observations before September 1st, right? So last year, we didn't really have anything other than just no elements are to be scored until September 1st, 2021. However, what if you start the year later? What if you start the year in January? What if you start the year before those cutoffs for evaluation? We didn't want people to be observed for evaluative purposes, and they're on their second day or their first week. And we might say, just about everyone in this room, that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, it does. There are some people that, because of concerns over meeting compliance deadlines, might conduct an observation on a brand new employee within their first week. So we kind of want to have that protective language in there, saying during the first 3 weeks of employment, because that will protect people that start the year normally, just like all of our employees, but also people that start the year later on, any point between September through the first week of February. The other dates at the bottom for the observation schedule, again, just updating for the current year. Instead of November 1st, 2021, it's now 2022. Comparative with the formals, informals for the category 1As, and then, of course, those observation dates for the 1Bs and 2s. Any questions, any concerns about these dates going into the new year? Okay. And of course, the professional growth plan. Thank you, Theo, for that heads up. I forgot about the PDD last year, that we give them time to learn on that date and then the weekend to complete. So that date, the reason why it's in teal was just because I had updated it since sending out the handbook to everyone in the group. Again, evidence added in the same time range. Finish the observations, finish the PGP, mid-year evaluations, final evals, all within the same date range. No changes to these other pages. I did take language that was at the bottom of this page, just explaining what the model of instruction was. It was sitting below the graphic. I moved it to higher up on the page just for purpose and structure and function. And then this update is that item we first discussed from the overview. So if the teacher doesn't meet the observer, then the observer chooses the form. There's also the dates, of course, from the previous pages. So again, no major updates to processes. We're just reiterating the processes we have in place. And then the only major piece is just updating the deadlines. And that was it. Those are the updates to the CTES for this year. Do we have agreement to move forward with these for the new year to begin communicating to all of our stakeholders? Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everyone. That was the, I'm gonna knock on wood, but that was the smoothest CTES update we've had in years. But again, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the camaraderie and being able to explore this together. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Anthony. Good job, man.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony, for putting that all together and making it real clear, and everybody reviewing it before the meeting so we could iron things out before. So I appreciate that. Paul, anything, any information you want to provide regarding the updates to the state assessments that we haven't talked about, or overview new tests? And I know CTA had some questions about when the scores would come out.
So we don't have a lot of information from DOE yet. It's kind of interesting. They're scrambling, and we'll end up doing the same to get everything out. By the start of school, but I think we'll be fine in terms of administration. The new tests are somewhat different from the old tests. I think they'll be shorter administration periods. They're not going to be 2 days per student per subject. Looks like they're going to do 1 day per student per subject for ELA and math. The science, the EOCs, those other assessments will stay the same as they have in the past. Algebra and geometry will address the new best standards instead of FSA standards, but beyond that, it's from everything we've gotten from DOE will stay the same. In terms of score availability, there's some legislative mandates on when the scores have to be in teachers' hands and in parents' hands. So like 1 to 2 weeks for the student level scores. So we're working through that with DOE. In terms of the evaluation piece, our evaluation, student performance rating piece of the evaluation timeline is actually not necessarily the limiting factor. There is not the state tests, it's the national tests. It's the AP, the IB, and the ACE, because those scores don't come out until late summer. So in terms of teacher evaluation release, I don't expect there to be much change in our timeline unless there's a decision to kind of split things on that front. And just leave that one model, the AP, IB, and ACE model, for a late release. But that's a conversation we can have next year, because it really won't apply for this year. Because a lot of those, the statute has the final test for the year having to have scores out by essentially, I believe it's May 31st, but not in 2023. The May 31st requirement starts in 2024. So until that is actually in place, it doesn't necessarily make sense to split anything up, because the timelines are so close together based on the typical summer releases. But once the third PM window from state tests are coming even earlier, you might have that conversation. So I don't know if I answered too much or too little there, but in terms of students or teachers and parents, it's a very short turnaround timeline. In terms of the teacher evaluation, I definitely don't expect it to change much for the 23 school year, but it could possibly be accelerated a little bit for 24 and beyond, with the exception of AP, IB, and ACE.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Does anybody on the call have any questions for either Anthony or Paul? All right. Well, if that is it, then it's going to be a much shorter meeting than I thought we were going to have. So, but again, thank you everybody for jumping on the call today and participating and helping in the front end of this, so that we're able to finish up in 20 some minutes. So appreciate everybody's work, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.